Dr. Pradeep Bide and the researchers here at the FSU College of Medicine's Center for Brain Repair are hopeful that one day they will find a cure for dystonia, a debilitating disorder that can leave a person wheelchair-bound. With the help of folks like Stefanie and Erwin Jackson and their son Brian, who suffers from the disorder, the team here is confident that one day they could produce some important results. In 2004, Stefanie and Erwin Jackson got the shock of a lifetime.
And had started describing this very bad back pain. And I thought, well, I remember from a few days before the road trip, he had fallen playing basketball. So being the typical mom, I'm like, well, let's take your shirt off. And I'm thinking I'm going to find a big bruise. He was 15 years old at the time. And I remember distinctly when we took the shirt off, I'm like, he's crooked.
The Jacksons decided to take their son to the doctor the next day, and he was initially diagnosed with scoliosis, a disorder that causes the spine to curve. But they needed more information as doctors suggested a life-changing surgery. So they trekked throughout the state of Florida, visiting doctor after doctor for the next 8 months, until they got the correct diagnosis. It was dystonia, a neurological disorder that affects the muscles.
It's called early onset generalized dystonia. So it begins usually at the extremities, very mild problems with handwriting, etc. And then slowly it spreads to the entire body, and then it is completely debilitating, disabling.
Once the Jacksons knew what the problem was, they set out to find a solution. They were eventually able to find a doctor in New York who could give Brian some relief through a surgical procedure called deep brain stimulation. Electrodes were placed in Brian's brain to stimulate the nerves that are causing his muscles to involuntarily contract. This procedure was successful for Brian, and within 48 hours, he was able to walk again, and he hasn't been in his wheelchair since. But that's not the case for every dystonia patient.
There's children out there that have had the surgery, and it's not been terribly effective. So there's a lot of work to be done. We got very lucky. We're very blessed, whatever terminology or belief you have, but there's a lot of folks out there that's not nearly as fortunate as we've been.
And that's why the Jacksons are opening their hearts and their wallets to help find a cure for this disorder. They've pledged a $1 million donation to establish a fund to support the Brian Jackson Dystonia Research and Discovery Program at Florida State's College of Medicine's Center for Brain Repair.
It's a critical piece of equipment for pharmacology. Okay. The Jackson's donation immediately allows us to include clinicians, for example, do patient-based research such as genetic screening for new genes. And then we are also going to do a stem cell based research project where we can create induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPS cells.
Dr. Pradeep Bide is the director of the Center for Brain Repair and a leading neuroscientist who's been working to find a cure for dystonia. For him, this partnership is a great match, and Brian's story serves as extra motivation.
But this is an inspiration for all of us. When you come to the lab, it's no longer an abstract thing. There is someone that is affected by this. So it magnifies the impact incredibly. And it's motivation too, if someone believes that you can do something about this. And we know that the road ahead is long, because curing dystonia could be a long process. But we know that we are on our way.
While the Jackson family is raising awareness and funds for research, Dr. Bide and his collaborators are hard at work trying to find a cure. For FSU Headlines, I'm Mark Vaughn.